India is in a state of total shock after the death of its topmost military leader and officer, Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. The general and his wife Madhulika, along with 11 others, died in a horrifying helicopter accident earlier today. They were on their way from the Sulur Air Force Base near Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu to Wellington in the Nilgiri Hills when their Mi-17 V5 helicopter crashed in Coonoor. Here's a detailed report of what happened.
A true patriot and a decorated soldier. General Bipin Rawat, India's first Chief of Defence Staff, is no more. General Rawat, wife Madhulika Rawat, and 11 others died in a tragic crash in Coonoor, Tamil Nadu. The Indian Air Force announced their deaths hours after Mi-17 V5 chopper that was flying them to the Defence Service Staff College in Wellington came down near Nanjapachatiram. The cause of the crash is still not known. Residents of the nearby villages were the first responders.
Plane helicopter அப்படி வந்துச்சு ஒரே சவுண்ட் கருகுமுன்னு சவுண்ட் வந்தோடனே கீழே ஒரு மரத்தில் அடிபட்டு வரையிலேயே நெருப்புல வந்துச்சு. நெருப்புல வந்தோடனே இங்கே ஒரு பெரிய மரம் இருக்குது. அந்த மரத்தில் வந்து அடிபட்டோன்னே கீழே அப்படியே தட்டார்னு விழுந்தோன்னா புகை வந்தோன்னே ஒரே தீ.
The mortal remains of General Rawat, his wife and others killed in the crash are expected to arrive in Delhi by Thursday evening. General Bipin Rawat is survived by two daughters, Kritika and Tarini. Shaurya Chakra awardee, Group Captain Varun Singh is the only survivor. He is undergoing treatment at a military hospital in Wellington. The death of CDS General Bipin Rawat plunged the nation in shock. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired an emergency meeting of the Cabinet Committee of Security. The government will make a statement in Parliament tomorrow. President Ram Nath Kovind, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of India, led the nation in paying tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat. From Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to Home Minister Amit Shah. The country's political and military leadership paid their homage. India's prayers are with the victims of the tragic chopper crash. Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining us as we pay tribute this evening to General Bipin Rawat, his wife Madhulika Rawat and the 11 other brave souls, all of whose names we will put out once they are officially released by the military. There is a reason. There are many people asking us about why the other names are not out. They're not been officially released just yet, and therefore there are protocols to be followed before we put those names out. Gaurav Sawant, my senior colleague, is also with me on our coverage and welcoming onto our show on this extremely, deeply tragic day, Air Marshal Vinod Kumar Bhatia, former Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Western Air Command, Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, former General Officer Commanding of the 15 Corps, Air Marshal B.K. Pandey, Air Veteran, former Indian Air Force Training Command Chief, Major General G.G. Dwivedi, who's a very well-known defence expert and Army veteran, Air Vice Marshal V.P. Kala, former Senior Air Staff Officer of the Southern Air Command, and a highly experienced experimental test pilot. And in a short moment from now, we will also be joined by General J.J. Singh, former Chief of the Army Staff. General Hasnain, I'd like to start with you, if I may, sir. Since we have the privilege of being joined by so many illustrious veterans on such a truly tragic day, I'd like to start with you and to get your views, your sentiments on a day like this. It truly is still sinking in, sir. So I can only imagine what it's like for the military and the veteran community.
Absolutely, Shiv, and I must start by expressing my deepest regrets and conveying to your viewers that the day today has been spent in prayer, actually. We've lost a friend. I've lost a personal friend, a colleague, a one-time subordinate, and I would say a partner, an intellectual partner. There were many times during the last 4 or 5 years that he was the chief and now the CDS that I received calls from him in the morning, early morning, on some issue or the other. And he always put it to me to give my views on it. It's not easy to be at that rank and that stature to come back to your old friends, your old superiors, and seek their opinion. It just showed the humility of the man that was General Rawat. I recall, Shiv, my time with him in the middle ranks. We were both colonels in the MS branch, and I still remember that when I went on to command the Uri Brigade, I was asked by the then MS as to who should step into my appointment as the Colonel MS policy. And I had no hesitation in saying that it should be Colonel Bipin Rawat. And the MS actually complimented me on my recommendation. And he stepped into my shoes. Thereafter, subsequent years, I came back to Baramulla to command the division, and I found him to be my neighboring sector commander at Sopore. And there were times when I tried to go and meet him at Sopore at his headquarters, and I can admit it to you that I could never find him there. He was always on the ground. He was always on the move somewhere or the other. Sopore had so many operations going on. General J.J. Singh will be coming on your program soon. He's one person who's been there extensively. Thereafter, I had the last sentiment which I must express is that when I became the Corps Commander in Kashmir, I had the choice to recommend who I would like to have as my GOCs, my general officers. And Baramulla division, my own division, was falling vacant, and I requested General V.K. Singh, can I have General Bipin Rawat to command that division? Because I knew he was the best man for the job. He had the great experience. He had the empathy with the people. He knew his troops extremely well. He knew the ground extremely well. And more than anything else, he had tremendous energy and the right intellect to get along in that particular job. Let me tell you, for that 1 year that we spent together in 15 Corps as the Corps Commander and the Division Commander, I don't think I've ever had a better professional relationship with the subordinate the way that I had with him. Therefore, after when he became the chief, I was there with him. I would always be there to support him whenever he would wish to have advice. And that's the kind of relationship in the armed forces that we always have. Relationships are for life. Relationships are not for tenures. I pay my tribute to this wonderful man and his wonderful wife, who was really the embodiment of all grace, nothing else.
An incredibly sad day, and I can tell you, General Hasnain, that Gaurav and I, who've been reporting this story all day today, have been getting very similar things being said about General Rawat by so many people who operated with him, worked with him, served under him, served above him, served alongside him. It's incredible. That's a common thread that runs right through it. Air Marshal Bhatia, welcome to you as well, sir. Your sentiments on this extremely, extremely sad day. The Air Force Chief is in Coonoor already, to pay tribute right there at the crash site. Your sentiments and thoughts today, sir?
Yes, Shiv. Actually, it's a really sad day for the entire nation. And I would like at the outset to convey my deepest condolences to the family of General Rawat and the rest of the people who have perished in this shocking accident. At the same breath, I would like to pray for a speedy recovery of Group Captain Varun Singh.
Yes.
I think General Hasnain had said enough about General Rawat. I would like to just add that he was a brave soldier, a brilliant officer, and a great leader of men. And we have really lost a great officer, armed forces officer, and great loss to the nation. Now, as far as the accident is concerned, we'll find out through the court of inquiry as to what exactly happened. But I want to tell you that a couple of times even I have landed in a Mi-8 helicopter at Wellington, helipad. As you know, it's in a small bowl, which is actually a golf course, and the aircraft lands just opposite the clubhouse. But it's a steep approach. So what would have happened to this aircraft, we'll have to see. But as has been mentioned over and over again, that Mi-17 V5 is perhaps the best of the Mi-17 helicopters that the Indian Air Force has got. And it was, as you know, it had been pressed into the VIP services, including travel by the President and the Prime Minister of this country. So there was nothing wrong with this aircraft. It's a very robust aircraft. But what we need to do is to find out what could have gone wrong
Yes.
with this. Fortunately, we have the flight data recorded and CVR, so it will tell us, as also Group Captain Varun Singh will be able to throw some light
Yes.
as to what exactly went wrong with the helicopter.
Absolutely, and we continue to pray very, very strongly for the full recovery of Group Captain Varun Singh, the sole survivor of this horrifying accident. Air Marshal B.K. Pandey, a miracle in many ways that, given the scale of this tragedy, one person has actually managed to survive this horrifying accident. Sir, your thoughts, your sentiments on this day? As General Hasnain had said, this is a national tragedy. It isn't just a tragedy for the military. It is a story that is sinking in for us all. Air Marshal Pandey, to you, sir.
Unlike others on the panel, I have not had the opportunity to serve or interact with late General Rawat. I had met him a few times and on certain occasions, but that was only on a social level. But of course, I'm quite aware of the high regard that the armed forces have for him, and which is justified. And so I view it as a complete disaster. This is a very big disaster for the armed forces and for the nation itself, because he was the first Chief of Defence Staff, and he had just finished nearly 2 years of his 3-year tenure, and he was handling a number of new projects for restructuring the armed forces, which hopefully somebody else will take over. But unfortunately, we have lost that connectivity with him. As far as the aircraft accident is concerned, as Air Marshal Bhatia said, it is for the court of inquiry now to actually determine the cause. But what I need to tell you is that having lived in Wellington for 7 years in Staff College, I've seen a number of aircraft coming in to land at the golf course there,
Yes.
in the helipad and the golf course. It's certainly a tricky approach to come and land at Wellington helipad, because the aircraft has to maneuver into the valley, and so if there is any problem with the visibility, if let us say it's a misty weather or something, then things could go wrong. And of course, it has to be found out now as to whether actually the weather was misty, or whether there was any clouding where he has actually by chance hit an obstacle, hit a tree or the hillside. But we will not be able to say it with any kind of certainty now, unless the court of inquiry establishes all these things. But the helicopter itself is a very reliable platform. It's the latest in the acquisition of the Mi-17 family, the V5, and it's recently been modified for VVIP use. So I don't feel that there could have been any technical problem with the helicopter. But certainly there is a possibility of a pilot error. But as I said, the final word can only be set by a thorough investigation.
Absolutely.
But overall, it's a disaster, and it's a good tragedy for the armed forces.
Incredible tragedy for the armed forces, for the families, and for the security establishment and the country at large. I mean, to lose India's top military officer in this manner, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a very, very long time to actually digest the implications of this. I'm glad Air Marshal Pandey touched upon the safety aspects and the court of inquiry, because I want to bring in Air Vice Marshal V.P. Kala, who is a very extensively experienced experimental test pilot, and a veteran of the Indian Air Force. Air Vice Marshal Kala, the court of inquiry in many ways has already begun. Tomorrow at first light, the process of gathering material evidence, the CVR, FDR, etc., decoding what's in it will actually happen. What light can you throw, sir, on what you have seen so far? I don't want to conjecture, but is there any sense we can make of what may have happened based on what we've seen so far?
Let me start by saying that General Rawat was from Uttarakhand. We are very proud of him. I am also from Uttarakhand, and he is a hero there. And he died like a hero in uniform. Now, this a few coincidences. We have lost in India 5 Mi-17 air crashes. All of them were in high hills. One in Kedarnath, 4 in Arunachal Pradesh. One Mi-17 was actually shot down in J&K by our own Spider missile. So I'll not count that. And other interesting thing, one might say that it is one of the helicopters in which, again, a very coincidence that like President of Sudan died in an air crash. And then there were Norwegian and Philippine ambassadors and wives of Malaysia and Indonesian ambassadors who also were killed in a Mi-17 crash. Sri Lanka minister was in a crash, though he didn't die. Now, coming to this particular accident, as someone said just now, perhaps there will be a court inquiry which will actually determine what caused the accident. But if I may speculate, it seems to me to be an accident caused by weather. Although the weather in Wellington area, I won't call it bad, it was hazy, which means something like 2 to 5 kilometer visibility, which is very good. But there was patchy rain. And it's a hilly terrain. Wellington is at altitude of 6,200 feet.
Yeah.
And at this time, there are patches of cumulus clouds sitting on top of hills, especially or high ground. And it seems to me, I'm again speculating, that it was the weather which caused this accident.
Okay, so you're saying that it's likely based on the limited information we have, including the those very disturbing, upsetting visuals of the actual crash site. You're saying that it's possible that weather may have been responsible. Major General G.G. Dwivedi, sir, to bring you in on this, your thoughts, your views, your opinion on and reactions to what has happened today. It is still being processed in many ways. There was a cabinet committee on security meeting earlier today as well. The mortal remains of those who perished will be brought to Delhi tomorrow. Your sentiments, General Dwivedi?
Well, Shiv, I think to start with, it's a very grave tragedy. And I really have no words to express myself because it is so unexpected. And it came so suddenly that when the morning, I had just finished with one of the channels on another program when the news came in. I can just say that I was shell-shocked. Having said that, I'll just like to make 2-3 important points. First and foremost, Mi-17, the earlier version, I have a deep respect for the machine. When I was commanding 16 Dart on Siachen, it was a workhorse. I have also done my para jumps, done a couple of jumps from this machine. I think it's a very steady, very dependable machine. Yeah, there may have been crashes, but those may have been either due to the bad weather or due to the error. But I think as a machine, it's a very dependable machine. Now, secondly is my interaction with General Rawat. I didn't have the opportunity to serve together, but I like to share 1 or 2, incidences. In 2018, I had done a book on the global strategic scan, and he learnt about it and he got a message that Chief would like to have a copy. So I said, I must go and give him the copy. So I went to his office. He was in a very important meeting, but he left the meeting, came out in the office, and I have been to Chief's office before that 3 times. When I went as DA to China, I was called. General Vij interviewed me. And General Shankar Chaudhary interviewed me. When I came to command the division 57 days, General Vij interviewed me. So the 3rd time that I entered the office, he almost gave a sort of very warm shake hand. We sat together and we discussed the book. And for 45 minutes he spent on the global scan, and he says he is a very passionate student of this subject. And later on, couple of times, I follow China very closely. And also a couple of times when I had presented the papers, he made it a point to come down and, probe me quite deeper, especially how the Western Theatre Command and others. The point I'm trying to make is he was a very passionate learner, and he had no qualms to share that he would like to learn about something. And during our discussion, I found that he wanted to push the reforms. And let me tell you, in our scenario, the kind of transformation that we're looking at is unthinkable, because we are so embedded in silos as single services. To get the services together, to get the people together, I'm sure government had great faith in it. And at the senior level, one of the things you need to do is to have very good wicket with the civil administration,
no doubt,
with the politicals, because that's where you actually move things. You may be a great professional, but if you cannot get around the politician, the civil administration, everything comes to a naught. I think he had the great knack. And more than that, I found him a very fine human being.
Yeah,
so
he was.
Coming to what is happening in CCS, just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Now, CCS will be grappling with this very catastrophic situation. It's a crisis. It is so unexpected. And everything was moving as far as transformation, theaterization are concerned. Now, there would be a feeling that there could be a little bit of setback. But in the same breath, I wish to also share the armed forces have tremendous depth of leadership of the pipeline. And people can very quickly step in, because after all, the senior generals
I'm
and
glad,
the commanders don't go.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, General Dwivedi, I'm glad you mentioned that, there's a great depth of leadership, in the Indian Armed Forces, because, General Rawat himself, would have wanted the show to go on as quickly as possible. That's the kind of soldier that he actually was. And I want to bring in General Hasnain back in on that. General Hasnain, am I right in saying that? I don't wish to be flippant at all on such a tragic and somber day, but knowing, I have had personal interactions with General Bipin Rawat. He was, I could have counted on him as a friend, of course, a much senior friend, but someone I respected very much. He was the kind of person who would have said, don't mourn for so long, don't waste time doing this. The show must go on. Choose my successor. The show must move on, because there is work to be done and the work must continue. Am I right, General Hasnain?
Shiv, absolutely endorse what you say. But let me also add to it the fact that he had been in the rank of a 4-star general in the Indian Army and subsequently with the armed forces for 5 years. At the end of the CDS tenure, he would have been there for 6 years.
Yeah.
It's not easy to find an officer who's had the experience of 5 years in a 4-star rank. You can imagine, he's transcended right from 2016 end to 2021, a period of great challenges as far as India's national security was concerned. So it's not easy to find a man like that. But at the same time, I say the Indian armed forces have tremendous depth of leadership. He starts from NDA, the National Defense Academy, comes up to the Indian Military Academy, the series of courses people do. We think many times that you join the army to have a good time and don't have to study and things like that. I have always studied all my life, and I'm sure General Dwivedi will agree with it, that all of us just only contribute to our professionalism all our life. You just pick up a general today anywhere, and he'll be able to fit into the boots of General Rawat in a matter of a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He has to be probably guided into it a little bit. And the armed forces have their ways of doing it. All 3 services have their own ways of doing it. There are senior officers there who have been with you for a long time. They will ensure that they tell you enough, they advise you enough about their own command and their own experiences. So I fully endorse what you say. It's a tragedy that this has happened. It's not easy replacing an officer of such great experience, but at the same time, the show must go on.
Gaurav, among the many conversations that we've had with General Bipin Rawat, one of the conversations that you had with him went spectacularly viral, because it was a subject that was very close to his heart. It was a work in progress, something that he felt very passionate about: theaterization, optimizing the armed forces to work together even better. Your thoughts, Gaurav, on that conversation, and any questions that you have for the many veterans paying tribute today?
Shiv, the general was a man on a mission and he had a very clear agenda. His agenda was India first. His agenda was theatre commands, integration. He, whether he was awake or asleep, whether he was traveling, whether he was in Delhi, theaterization is all he talked about. Theaterization was all that he wanted to do, and he knew that there were many problems en route. He wanted to take all the services on board. That conversation that I had with him that did lead to a lot of sparks flying between the army and the Air Force at one point of time. He knew that that task was given by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That task had to be completed, and he was on the job. In fact, he wanted Prime Minister Narendra Modi to announce the Air Defence Command this Independence Day. He was given until Republic Day for the Air Defence Command first, and then the Maritime Command, and then leave the Northern Command aside, but then go on to Eastern Theatre Command, the Western Theatre Command. He had a roadmap in mind, and he wanted to achieve it. Another thing, Shiv, extremely crucial, what Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat wanted. He wanted India first in terms of defence manufacturing. The fact that you have made in India drones, IIT boys and ex-Indian Air Force personnel making those drones, testing them in high altitude and manufacturing them. He said, Indian minds are the best in the world. Let them put their mind to work. Let them find a solution and let Indian Army trust those drones. So that is something that he was very, very keen on. And that is why, Shiv, you've done that. You broke that story about the Made in India drones that were being tested in extreme high altitude at the line of actual control. His brainchild to ensure that Indians did it for India.
He was a warrior for Atmanirbharta, which was a flagship effort by this government. He was in many ways a soldier towards that effort. And his work has to be carried on. I'm not going to say that things have come to an end with his death. He would have wanted that effort to carry on and to bash on regardless. That's what General Rawat was really all about. Also a privilege to have General J.J. Singh, former Chief of the Army Staff, with us here on our coverage. General Singh, good to see you. Good evening. I wish we were bringing you onto our channel in happier circumstances, but they couldn't possibly be more tragic, sir. And I know it is personal for you as someone who has also been the Chief of the Army Staff. Your sentiments and your views this evening, sir.
You're right. Like all Indians today, we must be shocked at the unexpected accident which has taken the life of our Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, and his lady wife, Madhulika. We knew them very well, but I want to mention about him that he has done extremely well as a soldier, leading from the front always with results which made him rise up the ladder. He also had vision by which he was able to see how the Indian Armed Forces should shape up in the future. And the synergy between the three armed forces, Army, Navy and Air Force, was something which he was very keen to achieve at the highest level. And the consequence of that would have been reorganization in various levels. At the strategic level, to have the theatre commands, the Northern, Eastern, Western and the Sea Command. You can understand that he was able to see that by having the commanders-in-chief handling a theatre, we would be able to give the best performance as the armed forces of India, and to blunt any offensive, to blunt and knock out any adversary who would venture to cross the borders. So I think besides that, he had also thought of having integrated battle groups at a brigade level, which would be taking care of the front on the plains in the western sector. Now, besides this, he was a person who was very much interested in modernizing the armed forces, particularly the army, and he ensured that his vision was translated into action by a number of acquisitions that we got, with the result that we have become a force to reckon with, and we are counted among the top militaries of the world. And also, I think that we have reached the elite club where we can use artillery which is lifted by Chinook helicopters and which can land in any mountain area where even no road exists. So this capability only few countries in the world have. I think I'm also associated with this plan of acquiring this particular ultralight howitzer and the Chinook helicopters, and it has seen the light of the day during General Rawat's time. What I would like to say, that today we have lost a gallant warrior, a soldier who had, I would say, praise from all who served under him because of his capabilities, because of his professional merit, and he rose up the ranks. He became the first CDS, and he was on the path of taking the armed forces to a modern nation, upcoming world power, to have an armed forces which are synergized and which have the capability to blunt any offensive or misadventure of our adversaries.
General JJ, the untimely demise of General Bipin Rawat and the others in that helicopter leaves an enormous void. Speaking specifically of General Rawat himself, the onerous work, the important work of synergies in the armed forces was something that he was steeped in as Chief of Defence Staff. How, the military is all about the show must go on. Continuity is a very important part of how the military functions. There is very little luxury for grief, and to digest this fact, because there is so much work to be done and we know the huge pressure on the military leadership. Give us a sense as a former Chief of Army Staff, sir, of how this continuity is going to be achieved and how it is achieved. The political leadership has already met. Successors will have to be appointed, but the important work that General Rawat was doing must not suffer, sir.
So I would like to say that you are right. There's a question whether all the policies which were enunciated by him, what was his vision, the way forward, whether that will continue or not. I think our armed forces and our army in particular is known to be able to continue the plans which are jointly arrived at. No plan which General Bipin Rawat made as a chief or as a CDS was only his own. At the chief's level, it is the army commander's thought process also which is taken before any major decision is taken. And when everybody is on board and they think it's a good idea, then they continue with it. So my experience has been good ideas of our predecessors are followed and taken to the logical conclusion. So I have no doubt in my mind that whatever he planned, whatever was told that he will be doing, and his vision, his way forward, that will continue by whoever is his predecessor. And I feel that the government had a meeting today to decide as to what should be arrangement made. And as per the protocol, I feel that officiating CDS has to be not even 1 second the nation can be without an officiating CDS. And he would have been informed by now so that he can function till the time the government takes a formal decision and selection of the next CDS. But being a nuclear power and being an emerging power of the world, we have to have somebody occupying his chair and taking on his responsibility on his very sad demise today.
I'm glad you mentioned that, General, because of India's position as a nuclear power, a rising power, a regional power. There can be absolutely no hiccups, no pause in the continuity of the office of the Chief of Defence Staff, and that is something that the political leadership will be ensuring at this point of time. We'll have an update on that in the hours ahead. Please continue to stay with me. To all of our guests, India's first Chief of Defence Staff. That's who he was, General Bipin Rawat. He served in the armed forces for over 4 decades. You've just heard a variety of officers who've served with him, under him, over him. General Rawat was the brain behind many bold moves by the Indian forces to confront terrorism and its supporters across the border. Here's a report on General Rawat's legacy and what it meant and will continue to mean for the armed forces.
September 29, 2016. India climbs up the escalation ladder in the war on terror. The special forces of the Indian Army went across the line of control deep into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in the early hours and launched an attack on terrorist launch pads. The surgical strike in response to the terror strike in Uri stunned the world. It began a new chapter in India's security paradigm. And among the few people instrumental in the mission was General Bipin Rawat, then the Deputy Army Chief. Since then, General Rawat has made no bones about the fact that the Indian Army can go to any extent in protecting the borders.
हमारी जो सेना है, हम अमन और शांति चाहते हैं, लेकिन अमन और शांति का मकसद ये नहीं है कि हम कमजोर हैं। अगर जरूरत आई तो हम किसी भी तरह से ताकत इस्तेमाल करने में पीछे नहीं हटेंगे।
The surgical strikes laid the foundation for another retaliation 3 years later. The Indian Air Force flew deep inside Pakistani territory to bomb Jaish-e-Mohammed terror camps in Balakot. General Bipin Rawat, then the Chief of Army Staff, had his forces on high alert, ready from any blowback by the enemy. The Balakot bombing in retaliation to the Pulwama terror attack that killed 40 CRPF personnel jolted Pakistan and sent out clear message to the world. India will not tolerate terror. Under the leadership of General Rawat, the Indian Army has taken some of the most stringent steps against Pakistan. As the Army Chief, General Rawat stood up to Chinese PLA in Doklam Plateau on the India-Bhutan-China tri-junction in 2017. The stare down lasted 73 days and ended with the Chinese withdrawing. General Rawat was aware of the multiple threats India faces on the border and warned that India must be ready for a two-front war in a worst-case scenario.
तीनों सर्विसेज जो हैं, उसका 1+1+1 का जो जोड़ आता है, उसको 3 नहीं बनाना है, उसको 5 या 7 बनाना है. तो you have to achieve more through synergy and integration. ये मकसद है जो CDS को जिस तरह से टास्क दिया गया है.
The 26th Army Chief played a key role in shaping the army in other matters too. He was fundamental in restructuring the army, cutting administrative flab, reducing duplicity, and increasing combat potential. The Government of India amended the army rules to extend the age of superannuation from 62 years to 65 years, paving the way for General Bipin Rawat's appointment as India's first Chief of Defence Staff. As the CDS, General Rawat ensured better coordination between the Army, Navy and Air Force. General Bipin Rawat's is an illustrious career, a legacy that is immortal and indelible. Bureau Report, India Today.
We're taking a very quick break, but before that, I want to show you a conversation with General Bipin Rawat when India Today's Sandeep Unithan asked him what was the one life-changing point in his journey. Take a look at this. We pay tribute to India's first top military officer, General Bipin Rawat. Thanks for watching. The news continues on the other side.
18th of May 1993, when cross-border firing was a very common thing, and when you got hit by a ricochet and your leg had been badly plastered, you were evacuated to the hospital in 92 BH, and then of course recovered from there, given some kind of a sick leave to recoup. And at that time you thought that will you be able to now do whatever you've been doing in the future, or will this always be a hindrance in your career? And let me tell you one thing, in those days, becoming a low medical category, in spite of the fact that you had suffered the injury in combat, in spite of that, becoming a low medical category was not taken very kindly, and everybody wanted to remain Shape 1. So that thing dawned on me, that whether one will revert back to Shape 1 or is it going to be in a low medical category, and how people are going to look at you, that you are not fit, yet you want to rise to higher ranks in the army. Of course, rising to higher ranks has got a lot of other things. Category alone doesn't matter, but you got to continue working hard. But then that, I somehow would say, kind of a associated stigma that here is a low medical category officer, not fit to do physical activity, and yet wants to continue to serve in the army and rise. So it does become a turning point as to what lies ahead for you. And I was told that I remember I was to go on the senior command course that time.
In the US?
Those days it was not senior. This was India, in Mau, and it used to be a selection grade course. Today it has become almost a mandatory course for people who have to command. But those days it was a selection grade course. And then you had this injury, and you were told that as a low medical category you can't go for this course. So that itself is a dampener, because a selection grade course you are not qualifying for that. And then on, and what happens thereafter? Many years down the line I learned that if you are not qualified on senior command course, you are not eligible for the higher command course later. Which of course I went for the senior command course, because I did become Shape 1 and went for this course. That stage I did not even know that being a casualty in conflict situation, you could still go for the course.